Welcome back, everyone, to another great episode of Basscast Radio. I am your host, Brian Carter, and in the studio is Hank the Bass Geek. What is up, brother? Welcome back this week to another great episode of Basscast Radio, man.
Man, I love to be here and I love to be just talking about fishing and hopefully just I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to say right now.
That's a game plan tonight, guys. There's a whole lot going on, like Geek's saying right
I'm in
now.
rare form. Watch out.
There you go. We're not gonna have a rant like Geek did the last episode, but we never know. But it was great though. It was great. Dude, that episode rocketed. It did really, really well. Thank you to everyone that listened to last week's episode with the Bass Tank. Brian from the Bass Tank was on.
Who I love. We love the Bass Tank. And, I hope, like I know, man, there's a lot of people that hate on, and I don't want to get started because I have heard it all week. I have been around it. I'm so just damn sick of it, of this knee-jerk reaction that we must do something immediately, which is the worst and wrong way to handle any situation.
All right, so we're gonna save that right there. But we're gonna save it right there because, guys, tonight we're just gonna talk some bass fishing right here. We got Thomas on with us from Fishing the DMV. Guys, if you saw that episode with me on there as well, like a week ago, thank you to everyone that watched and listened. It was a great show. I had like 3 or 4 guys from the BFL come up to me and say, "Hey, great show." So really, really appreciate that. I had one person DM me directly. So, guys, Thomas got a great thing going on, and we're all in the world of bass fishing right here, all in the world of media, and so everybody's fishing this week. We got a Bassmaster Elite event going on starting tomorrow. So everybody's prepping and getting ready for Florida because it didn't get ready to hit the Florida swing. And then we got a Major League Fishing event happening as well. But guys, the basscast.com will be down at Bugs Island this weekend for the Anglers Choice Team Tournament Trail. I feel probably about 100 boats for that event. Maybe a little light on Saturday because we do have a BFL going out of Bugs as well. So, guys, Bugs Island's gonna be blown up this weekend. Everybody kind of like
hopping.
Yeah, it's gonna be hopping. It's gonna be like Smith Mountain Lake over the past weekend. Congratulations to Basscast Pro staff member Chris Brummett on winning that. Dude, he crushed the field. 27 pounds. I mean, I think the closest one behind him was about 4 pounds below him. If you haven't watched the video, it's a great interview. And on top of that, I really got a really, really cool fish dumping video. And it's got it from the time he walks up, the fish are dumped. I mean, we're talking about the bag weighs so much, it ended up catching like the grate that's in the bottom of the tank. Yeah, it took him a while to get the guy to get it a while loose from the BFL. But man, you've got to see these giant. You get to see all of them live and in person. Not so live in person, but guys, he crushed it there. And congratulations to everyone that cashed the check. It was 195 anglers fished that event, Geek.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good turnout.
Yes.
We're BFLs around here, 130.
Mm-hmm. That's what the average usually is around here, to be honest. But that was the Shenandoah division, and from what I was told by the men this year, it's so hard to keep up with everything. The Shenandoah Championship this year is on Bugs Island. So everybody wanted to fish it. We had all the boys from North Carolina coming up to qualify for this bad boy and, get their events in the books that they need to fish to hopefully take home. I don't really know the number, but I've been told if you win that championship event at Bugs, it's a boatload of money. I was told it's $40K. I don't know if that's right. I cannot quote it, please. If you guys need to correct me, go ahead and post it in comments below. Either way, it's a buttload of money if you win that event. And hopefully the basscast.com will be there to cover it. Like I said, it's 2 days, and I know I'm going to find me a place to stay because there's going to be a whole lot of you guys down there. But luckily, luckily in at Bugs Island, there's a whole lot of state parks, Army Corps engineering parks, and Army Corps got most of it, and then Okanichi. So it'll be somewhere maybe I can stay, but it's gonna be a great weekend, man.
Oh yeah, good weekend.
But yet, guys, the temperature is rain's supposed to hit hard tomorrow. But the wind's gonna blow it out on Friday, and the weekend, Geek, is gonna be what?
Yeah, it's we're gonna hit a little rain. I think Friday. I think the temps down here are gonna be a little cooler, but not bad. 50s, mid 50s, and then it's like almost 70 Saturday, 70 something Sunday, and then I think there's like through the week it jumps up to like mid 70s and then 80 for about 4 days here.
So the fish are going to start spawning, men and women. Finally, maybe.
The moon is coming and the temperatures are warming.
Yes, we're going to hopefully get up into that spawning temperature level. Guys, the lake's been still hovering around that mid 50s point. But
well, I was on the lake. I've been fishing for some smallmouth out on South Holston, and my son-in-law was out there, and progressively there was 3 back-to-back Saturday, Sunday, Monday big tournaments there. So a lot of pressure, but we'd been scoping. Todd Waters come down. We'd been out there scoping, catching 3.5, 3 3/4, bass, smallmouth. But that has progressively gone away. So they are definitely starting to move to the bank. And I would say by the middle to the end of next week, there'll be some males that are marking territory. Now, most of the time, it gets a little tough when they start moving to the bank because, they fed, they're fat and sassy. And they want to make the bed and bring their ladies to it. So they they ain't eating a lot right at first, but as we get closer to that full moon, I think it's gonna be right.
There you go, guys. We got a brand new lake report on the basscast.com. This is a blessing, a big time blessing. We're missing Gaston, and we'll have pretty much Virginia covered, but we got Lake Anna, everyone. Want to thank Tyler Heuple, 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 for that. He is a guide up there on Lake Anna. So if you want to book a trip, head on over to the basscast.com right now and click on Lake Reports. You'll see it up. He's holding a big old nice bass on his boat. And click on that. All his information there so you guys can book a trip. But what a blessing. We only need Gaston. If you guys out there know someone who is a guide on Gaston, hit him up. Tell him Basscast is looking for him or her for a Gaston fishing report. Then we'll have it all covered. We got Bugs, we got Smith, Lake Anna, Gaston. Anybody want to do a James River report? I mean, we are missing one of those. I forget about that. James River report. If you're a guide on the James River and you guys are listening, we need a report for the James River as well. And I think, we'll have pretty much Virginia taken care of. So thank you to him. Welcome him to the basscast.com. So, man, that is it from my end. Like I said, it's a whole lot going on around here. Very, very busy weekend. We're going to be on the road. You guys probably saw my tent on top of the Forerunner. That was my 50th birthday gift. We finally got it up there. Kind of want to wait till I came back from Red Crest to get that up there. I really didn't want to drive 9 hours with the tent on top. But it's up there. Me and Mama gonna hang in it this weekend, and the wind might be rocking a little bit, but we're gonna see what happens. Might as well try it out in the worst of best of times. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Hey, look, if it's gonna rain, it's gonna be windy. You gotta know it's gonna stand up to it, right?
There you go.
What are you gonna do? Test it when it's perfect? No, that's the wrong way.
That's crazy. All right, Geek. I'm sorry, Geek guys. He dropped another video. Tell us about the video, and then we're going to bring on our guest tonight. You guys all know our guest tonight, but we're going to bring on Thomas from Fishing the DMV. But first, we're going to hear about our boy's latest drop.
It's fishing video. Look, guys, I'm a scope guy. I like it. I enjoy it. It's taught me a lot. So we decided we were going to go out and use scoping to catch everything we can see swimming. And we did, but only using spinning gear. Ooh. And it might blow your mind what we caught.
I love spinning
I will say
gear.
this. We did catch a trophy. I'm not going to say what kind, but a strain of white bass.
Boom.
That family.
Boom.
So with 8-pound fish line in an itty bitty tiny head.
Hey, a lot of people catching, I talked to someone the other day and that's all they throw is like 8-pound test line. I mean,
that's all I throw.
There you go.
Well, I mean, except on, bait casters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I got a bunch of them. I don't use them.
I'm a big spinning reel fan. I love throwing a spinning reel. I'll be honest, if I could be like David. Angler. Yeah, that's true. If I could be like David Dudley, man, I mean, just a spinning reel is all I freaking need. Give me like 4 of them. That's all. All right, guys. Thomas with Fishing the DMV right here on BassCast Radio. All right, guys. Thomas with Fishing the DMV. Welcome back to BassCast Radio. Guys, we're going to try to do this, like I said, once a quarter at least. Just talk about fishing, what's going on in the world of bass fishing, the news, the drama, the not-so-drama, the baby mama drama. That's a coffee drink my kid gets. But, yeah, there's so much happening in the world of bass fishing. We thought we'd bring Thomas back on with us. So welcome back, brother. Thank you, by the way, for having me on the show last week.
No, absolutely. That was a lot of fun. Got a lot of comments and some just healthy dialogue in the comment section, because this is the place, YouTube and Facebook is the place for really good, heartful conversation.
Yes. And the comments weren't that heartful, but yes, it was pretty awesome. So guys, thank you for listening. Like I said earlier, I mean, I had 3 or 4 people reach out, talk to me at the BFL, said that they watched the show. It was great. I had someone direct message me. So guys, if you ain't watching Fishing the DMV, you got to make sure. How many shows are you dropping right now, Thomas?
We drop 3 to 4 per week. And then we also do the Monday Night Live, which is kind of nice. We're getting up to about 200 people watching, and that's only been going on for about 40 weeks right now. So I'm blessed.
All right. So I thought we'd open up a little bit about Thomas, man. What made you get into the podcasting world? I mean, we know you got the college fishing thing. We see the jersey behind you, but everybody did it during COVID. Now everybody's been dropped out of stuff for us.
Yeah, after my college fishing career, I kind of took a hiatus from fishing because I just realized that there wasn't any money in it to be really made unless you had the backing. When we would go down and you'd face it against Clemson, Alabama, they got fully wrapped boats, everything's paid for. And then with the fishing team, it was just 2 people, me and my brother. I paid for the whole thing on my credit card, all 2 years that we did it. Wow. The college would not help us out at all. And after that experience, I was like, this is bullshit. This is not the right way. Went to get my MBA, and I was listening to the sports junkies talking about the Redskins, which they will always be the Redskins, not this hashtag free Washington team, whatever they're called. And I realized if people are willing to call about how bad the Redskins defense sucked for the 50th time, why don't we have a show that just covers local stuff? And I pitched it to my professors, and they said local doesn't work. Corporations hate local. It has to be national, big brands. It's not going to work. And I just didn't think that was true. And we went from zero subscribers a year and a half, almost 2 years ago now. And now we're closing in on 5,000, and we have over 5,000 downloads per week on Apple and Spotify.
Awesome, dude. That is really nice. You crush us. I mean, you kill us. You crush us, man. The dude's crushing it, everybody.
It's a lot of fun.
You guys saw, but putting out the more, that's the thing, guys. And, people ask me all the time about that. It doesn't matter whether you're doing a podcast show or YouTube videos like Geek. Consistency and the more shows, the better. You're always going to grow faster when you put out more shows. And that's what Thomas is doing, man.
Yeah. It's, it's like buying billboards. You buy one billboard, you'll get some people that see that billboard. You buy multiple billboards, you'll get people a whole lot more seeing multiple billboards.
And hopefully you get a little discount.
Exactly.
And find your niche. I mean, that's so important where, I think the smaller your niche is, the easier it is to gain traction, but you might not necessarily be able to have 1 million subscribers. When I started out just really the area of Virginia and Maryland, it wasn't necessarily just about the people, but just the bodies of water. Because like no one knows half the bodies of water in Virginia. But like the Shenandoah River I grew up on, the Shenandoah River was home to the worst fish killing in the United States because of some chicken factories that polluted the water.
I remember that.
People still love that place. People love fishing that place, and they never had a place that people would just talk about that, because if the bass doesn't go there, or FLW or MLF now, no one cared. And that's where I realized, like, oh, there's a ton of people that everyone looks over, that is their home. And so that really opened my eyes up to these smaller markets. That's
awesome, guys. This year, guys, if you haven't seen, Thomas started doing the Patreon, which, Patreon, and guys, in itself is it's a job in itself, to be honest, because you spend a lot of time promoting it, reaching out to the people who become members. But Thomas told me off there, you have over 100 Patreon members so far. What is it up to now, man?
It's up to 127. And I guess some thoughts behind that was when I was getting my MBA program, I really realized that YouTube, because I got my minor in my MBA program on YouTube, basically, and about, online marketing and just social media, that the AdSense is it's crap. It just is. They own a monopoly on it. They know they own a monopoly on it. I think a lot of the issues we have right now on social media is because YouTube is not paying a lot, but then you have to go the corporate route. And I really wanted to try to be as much of a news outlet as possible. And I never want to get in a situation where it's like, well, you can't say that because such and such is your sponsor. And it's like, well, if it's a story that has to be covered, I want to be able to cover it. And because of that, Patreon seemed like the best crowdfunding way to be like, if you want the information to be truthful, this is how you got to go.
That's true. I mean, that is true. And that's because, people hit me up because they didn't like my commercials. They didn't like that I put commercials in the podcast. And that was their biggest gripe. And I was like, either I start a Patreon, you guys pay for the commercials, because we all know we only do one show a week. Thomas does 5. It's not free. Our time's not free. And the hosting of the podcast is not free. So, I mean, I don't, I've told people it's a couple $100 to host the show for us to be put out on all the networks. That's just the way we do it. And the way I've been doing it for the last, I don't know, since me and Geek kind of got together, probably about 5 years now. But I mean, it's not free. As a member of your Patreon, what did they get? I think I saw you gave away like $100 today.
Yeah, so it continues to evolve. I have a 4-year plan built in for the Patreon that people can go visit, but you get discounts to a couple of like my Patreon level sponsors, which is like Tiger Crankbait, Jake's Bait and Tackle. We have, I think it's Southwest Fishing Tackle. I should click on that. SFAbaits.com. They're coming on as well. So everyone gets a percentage off that. The other thing is I'm on the board for the Department of Wildlife Resources for Maryland, and I'm good friends with Virginia. I've gotten permission from both of them that I can start a nonprofit and do supplemental stocking in the state. So when we hit 600, we will create an official nonprofit that the members get to vote on about what we go fix. Because I've seen how the sausage gets made. There's a lot of bureaucracy, a lot. I mean, I don't know if this is part of the show we can talk about, because we just had our quarterly meeting for Maryland, and there's some interesting rules and some things that they're floating around there that is probably going to affect all bass fishermen. And that's not just Maryland and talking about it. So we can get into that if you want to later on, but
yeah,
we got to stop relying on the state to do things. And if you want change, just get up and do it yourself.
Yeah. I mean, agreed, Thomas, because what we did here, you guys all know here, the tiger bass that were put in Smith Mountain Lake, whether you like them or not, that was all done by individuals. I mean, that money was raised locally. Now the state has started picking up the dime on it because they've seen what it does. But at first, there was about 5 or 6 guys here that said they wanted Smith Mountain Lake to thrive and, bring back more larger tournaments other than, the Big Bass Tour, which, that's what we want to see. Big bass coming out of Smith Mountain Lake, because when they see, when just like anything else, that's why they bring them to the elites, to all these different lakes, and they bring FLW, I mean, Major League Fishing, all these different lakes, is because the reason why the county and the city and the state, whoever's paying the bill, they want to see big bass, because big bass says, oh, Thomas saw a big bass caught down here. He might take a vacation down here, Smith Mountain Lake, and hang out at Smith Mountain Lake to go try to catch some big old bass. So that brings tourism dollars to the area, and that's why they spend the $50,000 to $100,000 to bring these organizations to the different types of bodies of water.
No, 100%. Yeah.
So I mean, you know, that's what it's about, and that's pretty cool. The news out of Maryland. So we'll dive into that a little bit here in a second, guys. I brought it up earlier. Major League Fishing is on Dale Hollow Lake. That's happening right now. Marshall Robbins, you guys saw the podcast. We had the Robbins on the show. Probably is last year or was it early this year? Early this year, wasn't it, Geek? Marshall's leading it. That's Group B, but Group B's fishing today. But Dustin Connell is in second place again. And, you know, I know it's just a Group B, but dude, the guy's a stick.
Miller's going to have to stop sharing all his secrets.
I'm glad he said it. As you can tell, he's in a safe house by his background.
I mean, the dude's a stick. I mean, you know, it's what else can Dustin do? You know, it's one of the things, I guess, for me. You know, a lot of them say stay with Major League Fishing, and you know he probably will. But you know, Dustin can pretty much go anywhere and write his own paycheck. I hate to say it. I mean, you really can.
He could. Yeah.
I think with every pro athlete, there's that moment. Is it for the money or is it for something else? Is it legacy? And you see that with a lot of pros where back in the day, it wasn't about just going to the Yankees because you'll get paid. You go to the Yankees because you could win a ring. And with Dustin or Wheeler, are they at that stage in their life where they do care more about legacy, or are they still like, hey, they got a young family, we could just stay here and keep raking in 100,000 after 100,000? I don't know. Like if I was them, I would probably ride the gravy train a little bit longer, but it would be interesting. Like at what point would they want to make the switch back and try to finish off at Bass?
Yeah, I mean, you know, because Bass does have such a, I mean,
well,
we can go ahead, Geek.
Well, you know, and I always throw it, and it's really interesting, you know, to watch like Scott Moore, certain anglers who come in, who hang out with certain groups of anglers.
Oh yeah,
you know, how much of their success is a team effort? Now, I'm not saying that those guys aren't great anglers. We all know Jacob was a great angler, right? But how much of it is what they're sharing with each other?
Oh yeah,
and they share. Everybody will sit around and go, "Well, they're not telling them BS. They're breaking it down for each other."
Oh yeah,
they know. Trust me, been there.
But you guys have seen the Dustin Connell videos. I mean, it's a house full. I mean, you know, it's 5 of them in a house, and they all broom together, and like you said, they all share information. But Dustin's already won 2 Red Crest Cups. I mean, it would be, you know, I know it'd be a step backwards to have to kind of work your way up and fish the opens to qualify for the elites to go win a Bassmaster Classic. I mean, you know, like you were saying, Thomas, when is that point, do you think, that, hey, let's go win a Classic? I mean, that's what Scott's doing. I mean, that's why Scott came back. He wanted to do something his dad never did. He wanted to win a Classic.
Let me tell you the answer to that question. When money doesn't matter.
Yep.
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters for Dustin. I really don't. I mean,
he's got young kids. Money still matters right now.
Money still matters. Yeah. And I think there's something with I would love to actually know the real reason that Scott actually made the jump to Bass, because I hear that there were offers made and people tried to woo him to stay with the BPT. I don't know. I mean, it's great branding for him, you know, try to win the Classic. That's what his whole channel's about now. So it's great branding there with that. And I get the unfinished business, but was that it? Or was there something else?
Yeah, you kind of wonder. I mean, and that's another group right there. They're not hurting for nothing. I mean, they got more boats in their front yard than half of us will. You know, they could probably got 4 boats in their front yards at $100,000 a piece. That, you know, saltwater boats, bass fishing boats, and all the other crazy stuff. So I mean, there's the Martins. You know, they got the marina down there. Nobody's hurting down there in Florida. So I mean, you know, and you wonder. I like what you're saying there, but you wonder if Scott's thinking about his age too.
I mean, yeah, legacy. He's more in the legacy bend.
Yeah, And he's qualified now, since he won that first Open. Boom, he's in. I mean, he'll be,
he's won he won a cup, right? He won an FLW Cup.
Yeah.
He's won a ton back in the FLW days. He's got a huge YouTube channel. I mean, he's got more sponsors than, all three of us times three.
Yes.
He's got a TV show. I mean, look, money doesn't matter. So it is a legacy for him now.
Oh, yeah. So, yes. So we got that happening. But Geek brought it up a little while ago. No TV coverage again for day number 1. I mean, Group A, Group B, the first segment of Major League Fishing. And, you wonder if they heard enough. The complaints weren't enough. I mean, from the crowd. I mean, everybody. I had Iaconelli on, and the whole thing about Iaconelli and the show was, hey, it's going to be 24-hour coverage, and now we don't want people to know where we're fishing. We don't want someone to blow up our spot. We don't want a competitor maybe to be able to go back and rewind later on tonight. I mean, I don't really know. You know what I'm saying? It's just one of them deals.
Yeah, Aunt Defo had a live going yesterday. Wesley Strader's got one going today. I mean, come on. It's
how much of it is the anglers were bitching, and how much of it is that they are hurting for money, and that if you guys don't know behind the scenes of tech world and stuff, that ain't free what they're doing.
No.
I've never seen an organization besides maybe the White House that is so bad at communicating, though. Honestly, it's just insane how bad Major League Fishing is about like speaking words correctly to people in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, we brought it up. I mean, we've talked this and we beat it down with the bush. We hope they stick around. We hope they stay around. I mean, but if they keep screwing it up, I mean, it's just going to be people already tired of watching it. If you guys have already seen by the James Watson issue, I mean, people are, I ain't gonna say everyone, but I say a good chunk of people are pretty much done with it.
They have hurt that brand badly. And, I think we talked about it last time that, it might be a time, Floyd, or Doug.
Floyd.
It might be
Floyd.
It might be, yeah. Floyd. I don't know what. I just kept wanting to put an F in there, but anyway, Boyd Duckett. It might be time for him to take more of a non-face of the company role.
But we've talked about this on my show a bunch, Brian. And I think you're on this. If you Google anything and it's all there, Bass Pro Shop owns like 50%. Yeah. He is the figurehead of this, no different than Roger Goodell for the NFL back in the day. He is there to take the slings and arrows for the owners. That's what somebody like that is for. He is only there for as long as he suits the purpose of the owners. Why haven't they had enough of him?
Yeah, and like I said with Bass Pro Shop, why is Johnny waiting so daggone long on a deal? And I wrote a piece about it, and the drama and everything going on, and it's why is he fishing it? Why is Boyd fishing his own tournament series? I mean, it's kind of like he's got so many arrows pointing at him already. He shouldn't be fishing. I believe that 100%. Me and Daniel both believe we don't fish our tournament series. Not that I'm going to win by any freaking means, but it's no bias there. And, if he's going to be the owner, he needs to be the owner or, the face, like you said, Thomas.
I don't think he cares. I mean, let's just to be perfectly honest. He doesn't care. And whether we go into the morality of whether he should or shouldn't, I think he is so good at his job of just letting most of the stuff deflect off of him. And I think people have mentioned before, like, what if Kevin Van Dam did it? Kevin Van Dam would not touch that with an 8-foot pole because it would ruin his legacy. And most people are worried about their legacy. And yeah, that's what's so fascinating about the Boyd job, because I could totally see him in a room with some unnamed people that own this thing actually. And Boyd's like, listen, you want this job? And all of them are like, no, we don't want to touch it. It's like,
it's you, buddy.
Yeah, but
I'll be the dump truck, but you keep me in charge. And I think that's what it is.
But I understand that. But at the same time, we all know that, Bass Pro Shop has such a big foothold in Major League Fishing when does this start showing up on their brand a little bit? You know what I'm saying? When are we going to see, we got FBD already. When's it going to be Bass Pro? I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it kind of, it's kind of like with the movements we've seen over the last couple of years and how these young kids are doing all this crap now. I don't want to get involved in that part of it, but you know what I'm saying? When is it like, hey, people knocking on the door saying, hey, you need to make a change or we're all done? But
I agree.
But that's really what it's going to have to take. It's really going to take now is someone to go over Boyd's head and hit where it kind of hurts above that to say we need a change.
And I don't even disagree with everything that every move that they've made, but it's more how they've made the moves, right?
Yes.
Like, it's just when they bought FLW, just saying, okay, no championship. Then when they decided they were going to cut down, I mean, I get it, man. It ruins a lot of people's dreams, hopes, and dreams of being a professional angler. But how many professional football leagues are there? How many professional baseball leagues are there? How many? I mean, yeah, sure, there's in other countries, but be happy you don't just have one. I mean, you've got an option. And so,
right.
Yeah,
I don't mind being cut down. I just think follow your own rules with that. What is it, every 3 years that it's
and next year it's even a bigger cut.
Assessed or in or
yeah.
out.
And
Just be open. Hey guys, you know what? We're our asses are losing money left over, hand over fist, and we're going to try and make this better. And we're sorry.
Yeah, I've said it on my show for at least a year now. Like, it is a bunch of great ideas that are poorly executed, and that's what the brand is. There's a lot of great ideas that Bass again. Everyone says they hate MLF, but it's like, guys, Bass had the driver's seat for a long time, and they didn't do anything. They created this issue. Always remember, they are the ones that created this problem.
Yes.
And that's why everyone left.
And that's why, yeah, exactly. But then again,
everybody was so willing to jump ship for a reason. It wasn't for no reason. It wasn't because a fork-tongued devil was such a good salesman. There were problems. There were promises made in the ESPN days. This goes back for a long, long time that professional anglers have wanted it to be a true professional sport. And that means more money, more advertising, and lower entry fees.
The whole forward-facing center thing is such a fantastic soap opera. Like, I don't have to watch New Girls or anything on TV. I can just watch this because it evolves to different chapters. There's new seasons, and all these pros coming out. I think Cruz posted a video, and that comment section.
He's posted too.
I got some popcorn and I just sat down going through that comment section because it's insane how this thing's evolved.
Hank Terry posted one a day or two ago. Oh God, what's his name? He has a good YouTube channel. Wow, I cannot remember his name. Anyway, he posted one where he was talking about selling all his casting rods and all that. Listen, I went on a rant about this the other day. I've been fishing for a very long time, when the Bass Tank was on. And to me, it is so bad to not, or to take action so early on. It just drives me crazy. All
right. Before we get into that part, we're good. Before we get into that part, I want to finish up the Major League Fishing thing real quick. And I got 2 points, and then we'll jump into that because, that is a really, it's hotter than a firecracker topic right now on the 4th of July. But you guys all know, I mean, a lot of people read the contracts in Major League Fishing when it came out. And we had Cruz on, and he said he did not like the contract whatsoever. Everybody had to sign, I think it was like a 3-year contract when Major League Fishing began for the Bass Pro Series. And, they wanted to get paid, and bass fishing's different, guys. And we can discuss that really quick. The dream was 100% entry fee paid. Remember that? I mean, that was it was lots of coverage for their sponsors, but then they would have events where they were wrapped they weren't in their boats. They were in Major League Fishing boats. So that wasn't their sponsors. And then it was the free entry fee into the events, to a lot of the events. So, I mean, that was what a lot of guys kind of left for, as well as the catch and release. And a lot of, taking care of our fish and our waters and for future generations. So, I mean, that was the three things that, if you guys go back, it's good God. Now, what are we, like fourth year Major League Fishing?
And they've managed to somehow screw up every one of those points in some way.
And it's changed every time, like you guys said. It's changed every freaking time they've done something different every freaking year that they've done it. But that was what the hope and the goal was with Major League Fishing. And you guys all saw what happened. The big boy, then the big names come back, and here we are. I mean, and few are still there, and there's the darlings, and then there's everybody else.
Well, and I think part of that, the people coming back, you can split into two parts. I think part one would be the classic. They just don't like, they want the classic, and they didn't like how MLF was. Then the other group is, we can't talk about this one, they sucked at every fish counts. And nothing, and this is what blows my mind. No one talks about that. They all get all like professional, and it's like, oh, these are the reasons I'm leaving. I'm going to blame them. It's like, you sound like a kid that got his ass kicked, and you don't want to tell the truth. Isn't it weird how Brandon and Gerald sucked there, and they're like, I actually love bass. I'm going to come on back to my home. It's like, that's because you finished 110th 3 years in a row.
Whoa.
It's basically the same thing that these pros that are putting out these videos going, because you know why? Because I was there 2 years ago. I went in, I'm a network engineer. I go into these tournaments, Fishing Del Hollow, by the way, a great scoping lake. And I'm thinking, I'm good with my graphs. I can go up here, compete. No, it's different. It's different. John Cruz come out with video saying, oh man, I just don't have the time to put into this. Well,
shut up, John.
It's your job. You should have put the time.
I mean,
Castledine, that's who it was. Castledine come out and goes, well, I've had a, not so great year. I guess I'm just going to put all my casting rods down. I'm gonna have to learn how to do this and just eat it.
Could you imagine LeBron James coming out after a game, be like, listen, I don't have time to work on my 3-pointer. I'm running a business, and we just got to change the sport. Or Tom Brady.
Yeah. My name is Shaquille O'Neal.
Hank Cherry's words exactly was, oh man, it sucks because I know I'm a better angler than these guys. Well, are you? Are you really? Because my question to you is this, and this is my question to everyone that hates on LiveScope. 75% of everything that we based every theory we ever had on is being proven wrong by LiveScope.
Yep.
So is it really skill? Or was it really just bullshit that we didn't know any better?
And there was one angler, actually one angler that I know, guys, who actually it was on the Zaldane show, came out and said, "Hey, I just sucked at every fish counted." I mean, that's why he admitted it. He was bad.
Be honest. Yeah.
I mean, he admitted straight up. I watched the whole show. He admitted that he just sucked at every fish counted, and I got the boot. And, I'm having to restart through the opens at 50 years old. I mean, it was that chance he took, fishing the Bass Pro Series, and he stayed long enough. So he's gone, but he's fishing the opens. So, I mean, like you said, Thomas, just be honest about it. I suck at it, because we all brought that up. We've brought that up before on other podcasts that we saw last year. We saw, Dustin win and all that other stuff too, but we saw a lot of different names win when it was only 5 fish.
It's a different style. And again, maybe there's a better analogy out there, but it's like National League Baseball versus American League Baseball. It's different. And I think that's good. And we need something like this because it makes what Jacob Wheeler does so much cooler. The dude will win any platform, any type. That's amazing.
I mean, we got the designated hitter. You guys know what I'm talking about. I mean, he loves baseball as much as I do. So, all right, guys, we're going to jump on. Bassmaster Elite Series this weekend, starting today, because this will be up on Thursday. Harris chain of lakes back down in Florida. We're doing the Florida swing, everyone. And I was sitting there watching a little video. Well, not video, but I was on Bassmaster.com because I made my fantasy fishing picks for everyone who plays fantasy fishing with the Basscast.com. Who our overall winner this year will take home a $100 gift card from Discount Tackle. Looking like a punching event is what I saw, and I don't know the weights that I saw. A lot of the guys, this come from the pro anglers, about 64, 65 pounds for this event for 4 days. So are the big girls going to show up? Because the big girls down there have already spawned.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are you all's take on the upcoming Bassmaster Elite event? Then they move on to Florida, another event in Florida, and then start climbing up through the United States.
This is something that we've been wanting since the COVID year, when it's like, let's go to the same bodies of water different times a year, throw them a curveball. And I absolutely adore that they made this little change, because if you had to take bets, if before you knew anything of where they're going to start the year, it was going to be Florida, Texas, maybe work your way up. So I was kind of happy about it. Okay, yeah, let's see them do the post spawn, so to speak, in Florida. That'll be neat. And if you guys don't like live scope, this is the kind of events that you want. I know Scott did something crazy.
I was going to say though,
but
I wouldn't doubt 1 minute one dude who's turn it on perspective mode and just blow the field away.
Just sit in the middle of the lake.
I would die laughing.
Yeah, especially it's a Harris chain first, and then I think it's St. John's, if I'm not mistaken. And so I know the St. John's has a huge grass kill. So I don't know how much either one will have forward facing stuff, because the shell beds will play probably too there on the Harris chain as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we brought this up before, guys, about the grass messing up the forward facing sonar. It's not, I don't know much about this because I don't own one, I ain't gonna lie, but I've heard, the grass messing up with the I know it would mess up the signal, but you're not getting like the clear picture.
Yeah.
And I don't see where it will play into this event. I hope it doesn't play into this event, but it like you said, one could go off and just smash them like Scott did.
Do I think one person will figure something out? Probably. Do I think all 100+ anglers are going to be using it? Probably not.
No.
And then again, it's like, can he do it for 4 days straight? Like the issue with the Harris chain now, and this is more of my side with the nerdy biology stuff that we talk about, is they sprayed too much pesticide in all those lakes, and it's only like 20% coverage of actually good grass. And that creates issues where the good grass that is there in the pre-spawn, there's 10,000 boats on top of it. So how much is that kind of crowding in areas going to affect the tournament?
Boom. Your take on it, your take, Geek?
Well, so, just like Thomas said, now, if you talk about how small the grass area is, what's left? Shell beds, offshore. What does that mean?
Yep.
FFS peoples. So,
and Jordan Lee won Lee won a heavy hitter actually down there, throwing a bucktail jig of all things, a TVA thing down there in Florida.
Well, I mean, didn't we interview like some high school kids that had a huge bag down there right around?
I think we did. Yeah, I think.
I think we did. Shell beds.
Yep.
With a big one.
So, do we think okay, question. Everybody vote. Think the 60 pounds is going to hold up for the 4 days?
I think that might be a little under.
I thought so as well, but I haven't been practicing. So,
I mean, especially, I know they've already spawned.
Yes.
They should be in feed mode. They should have been in the mats, rested. They should be feeding. They should be back on their feet by the time we get there. They spawn what? February, March?
Yeah, they spawn many times down in Florida.
So I'm going to say if it's a punching deal, I think the weights will be down, because that's just kind of the punching nature of things. And if somebody finds a shell bed and somehow has it to themselves, like Justin Lucas had that one dock in DC to himself for like 7 days in a row and no one touched it. Like, I think the weights could be higher.
And that's what this was a prediction. like I said, this is on Bassmaster, guys. I read it earlier, and everybody pretty much held up their baits, and pretty much 80, I say 75% were all punching baits.
Yeah, but that's like me having, all
Yeah.
Stinkos on before.
Oh yeah,
summer ledge fishing a bit.
So I mean,
Stinko, boys.
So we wonder, I mean, like you said, someone could find a grass mat and pull a whole lot of big old bass out of grass mat and, feeding bass. And hopefully it should be a great event. If you haven't picked your fantasy fishing picks by now, you're too daggone late. But I picked mine, and no, I haven't shared them yet, but I will share them to our fantasy fishing page on Facebook. So make sure you sign up for that. We'll hit the forward-facing sonar last, but one more little topic about Major League Fishing, guys. Last week was Boyd Duckett's birthday. This week was Boyd Duckett's birthday. And for all of you guys who saw the post, Bassmaster did a post, happy birthday, Boyd Duckett, which was really cool of them. But again, it backfired on Duckett. It really did. There was no likes. There were very bad comments. And, it's just the face of what's happening right now in Major League Fishing. But I mean, happy birthday, Boyd. I've met you a few times myself. Personality is not the best, but hey, we still love you anyway.
God, I cannot wait for the next season of this drama. I don't know what other twists and turns they could possibly have on this thing.
Hopefully it's for them, it's quiet, because I do like the every fish counts, and I do like that they move. Well, that was something that I wanted, that they moved it wasn't always 1 pound. Okay, if we go to Okeechobee, I don't want you weighing in 10 pounds. Well, you should zero if you've got to weigh in 10 pounds. I'm sorry that you're a pro, but no, go catch better fish. You should be a 3-pound limit. And I love it because they're on one of my lakes, Dell Hollow, which I love dearly. And one of the great things about and when I fish BFLs, I don't even get to do it because like you have such a weird smallmouth limit. You can only weigh 2 smallmouth in. One has to be under, I think it is 14, and one over 23. And, so it's to really see what this lake has in it, because we focus on largemouth, and it's always 22, 23 pounds of largemouth, and it is a scoper's lake, man. It's going to be a lot of scoping, but it's going to be really interesting to see, how the smallmouth truly play into this. So
no, and this is what it sucks with how it's run, because their format is probably about 5 years ahead of its time. I mean,
yes,
this is what I got from the Department of Maryland Wildlife Resources. Committee members will provide feedback on catch photo release tournaments and catchway release tournaments for promotional for the state. Maryland, Pennsylvania, and it sounds like potentially, I don't know if this is true or not, it'd be North Carolina, are thinking about how they can start pushing catchway release.
Wow.
We had a couple of people come on from Texas to talk about 2 data points. One was fish mortality rates in live well tournaments are between 20 and 30%. And then also a study that just got released, and I think it'll be available to the public in 2 weeks, from Texas about forward-facing sonar, and that they only saw I think it was like a 10 to 15% increase in catch rates if you had forward-facing sonar. But the big one that was on everyone's minds was that mortality rate with live well tournaments. And you guys, if you don't want this to pass, you got to talk to your state. You'll say it's not going to happen to me, but I think we're going to wake up here soon, and all of a sudden, catchway release is the thing. So,
and I'll be the first to tell you, I'd say it's very much higher than that as you get in water temps above 75 degrees. And I can attest to it. I have literally been at summer events in June and seen 100.
Coolers full,
200 bass floating in there upside down dead.
Yeah,
those are BFLs, people. We're not talking about on my home lakes.
After that's released, we'll discuss that and hit it pretty daggone hard, because you are right. the basscast.com, we do not have anything June, July. And if we do start over, start back, it's usually late August or late September. We stay away from them hot months because you do see that fish kill. I mean, I don't want to bring up tournament names. I don't want to bring up anything, but I've seen coolers full of bass, and I've seen some 5-pounders, some 6-pounders that didn't need to come out of this personal lake. This lake that, yes. So,
yeah. And I think, and this is what I brought up in the meeting, actually, for people that don't know, they're listening, I'm on the board, the Black Bass Advisory Board for Maryland. So we get to help see and make decisions for fishing tournaments, just the fish population in general. The technology is just not quite there yet because there is a big push now because of finances to where it's single boat events. You don't have a co-angler anymore. Mm-hmm. How do you do that with catch-weight release? If once you figure that out, you're golden. And if I was Johnny Morris, and let's just say Johnny Morris is playing 40 chest, he knows that the tea leaves are moving to where bass will not have weigh-ins in the next 10 years. And his thing might just be like, I'm just going to keep holding out because the states are going to do it for me. When all of a sudden, once 4 or 5 states say, hey, you got to do catch weight release, he can open doors and be like, and guess what? We're the first ones.
Yep.
That's true. I've thought about it a lot of times myself here and, ways that we could do it here and make it profitable for the anglers themselves. But, those Bubba scales, they're awesome. I got a set upstairs. Thank you to Bubba Scales for hooking me and Danielle up at Red Crest 2024. But they need to come down just a little bit, so if you want to provide or do a local tournament that's catch, weigh, and release, because you don't want everybody having, and that's the same issue we ran into with the kayak series. I know I'm jumping here a second. You don't want everyone to have the same different boards. Yeah. And we all went to that catch board, the Kitech board. I think I'm saying it right, but we all went to one board, made it leak. That's the board you have to fish a kayak tournament. And, we'll have to have some type that, God, that's another whole freaking show by itself. I mean, how we could set that up in Virginia. And, I know there's a club here, Smith Mountain Lake Bass Masters. I'm not sure if they're still doing catch, weight, and release, but a lot of anglers won't like that here either because you show up an event, it's a round robin. You don't know who your co-angler is that week. They put a name in a hat. They draw everybody's name out. I could have BassGeek this week, and next week I have Thomas.
Yep.
I think the bridge gap is probably going to be the Texas Big Bash format or the Lake Fork events where you're going to probably only take in like your biggest fish or something like that, but then you catch, weight, release everything else. I think a hybrid is going to be it's going to be the gateway drug to get us to the other end of the spectrum. And that gives you time for the technology to catch up because I mean, we're here. I mean, look at what kayaks are doing. Like that's insane how fast that technology's jumped. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
And infrastructure is going to have to be improved around the lakes too. I mean, that's one thing I can say about like Dale Hollow. I co-angled 2 years in the BFLs on those lakes, and there's no cell service there. I mean,
and that's true too, because I like what you just said there, Geek, because that's 100% true now. Because like these Bubba scales and all that stuff, I mean, they got the app that you can download. People can pay attention, just like Tourney X. We have that. We have the Tourney X app, and someone will have to build, or Dwayne with Tourney X will have to build the next app for a catch, weight, and release tournament. Mm-hmm. And I know they've kind of worked it in already. I haven't really played with it too much. Have you played with it much in Tourney X, or have you seen it, Thomas?
I think what they're going to have to do is you're going to have to create a measuring board scale that has weight. And that way you actually take a photo of the fish on the board, but then there has somewhere that it shows the weight, because there has to be some kind of photographic proof. With the club I'm a part of the Antietam Bass Masters up in Hagerstown, Maryland. We get to fish a ton of different waters because we do catch, weight, release, but it's a draw tournament and you have a sheet and you guys both have to weigh the fish, look at it, agree to it, and then sign a golf sheet. And then that gets taken in. And then you're allowed to bring in one big fish. That's it. But
that's cool.
You both have to sign and agree on the weight, and you're competing against each other. So there has to be that next step of verification to make this work. And That's where I'm confused about how would you do that with a scale like Major League Fishing is one thing because you have a ref in the boat, but
Yes.
Yeah.
if you do a tournament there for just the weekend guys or you run one at Smith, how do you verify? Once you figure out how you verify, it's game over. The technology will just go off.
Yep.
Yeah, guys, this is a really touchy. I mean, it really is a touchy subject, and it's one of them things where I do like the round robin, and a lot of guys are going to hate that because you're going to get paired. It's going to be like fishing a BFL, like we had this weekend. I mean, you don't know who you get paired up with until Friday night, and you're hoping that if Thomas or let's say BassGeek, I'm hoping like I'm in the back, I'm trying to win money. BassGeek's up front, he's trying to win money. But if BassGeek breaks a rule, you're hoping that I'll have the big enough kahunas to go say, hey, BassGeek broke a rule, man. He came in with 6 fish in the live well. And then you get that. So, I mean, it's gosh.
All you got to do is say, like, you just bought $100,000 bass boat. Go buy a $300 GoPro like they do on the elites. I've talked to so many people that do these do terms like, why won't you do a camera? Like,
yeah,
YOLO tech. YOLO tech. I mean, it runs all day.
Anything. And I talk to so many people that don't do YouTube, and it's like it's no different than having a dash cam when you drive.
That's
you
true.
have proof to back up. If you have to talk to like some person from the state because they're out there checking Life Fest, you can be like, I have it on footage. This is what I was doing. It's just a great backup thing to have.
Yep.
Yeah, that's another thing, Thomas. I run into that a lot, and I think that is a hell of an idea. But as a weigh-in release, sometimes I have to supply bags for people who buy $100,000 boats to weigh their fish.
That's
so I
facts.
mean, and it's me and Danielle will go to Bass Pro Shop about once a year, and we'll pick up 24 bags, and we'll just keep them with us all year. And by that, the end of the year, we're buying 24 more. But a weigh-in bag, I have to supply it for people who have bought hundreds to $200,000 bass boats, and we all know that's another crazy world as it is. But all right, guys, been a great show tonight. Awesome show so far. But we're gonna wrap it up with our final topic, and that's the forward-facing sonar, man. We gotta hit that a little bit. I really don't want to dive too much into the James Watson thing. That it's that in itself. I will say this right now. I think Watson's handling it pretty daggone good. Because he kind of is. I mean, he was on Duncan's show the other night, the other morning, whatever it is. Howard Duncan records his show.
How many hats did he sell?
Oh my God, dude, he's selling.
How's his retirement fund now?
Oh my gosh, and he didn't need it. I mean, he's selling hats out. I saw one of my friends, acquaintances, however you want to say it. He had his on Facebook. He's profiling the bad boy. So I mean, it's just it's that right there is a whole drama mama all to itself. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't think he'll sue Major League Fishing. That's my opinion. Or I don't think Major League Fishing wants to let it get to that point.
I don't think it will get to that point because he doesn't have the money.
No.
When you look at some of the stuff, so like Disney was in a lawsuit. I think it was like with somebody that I think it was a Gina Carano or whatever. But until
the girl from the
Star Wars, Gina Carano,
whatever it was. Yeah.
But she couldn't do the lawsuit until she got financial backing because of how much it costs. Because corporation can just push that thing off forever. So I don't think Watson would want to even do that. I think he's threatening it because that's a whole other can of worms when you're doing that.
Yeah.
I don't think that I think they would, to be honest, with as much drama changes, the changes in Major League Fishing and all the stuff that happened, the call outs for cheating, the call outs for people getting, their big names cheating that paid the fines and one-on-one tournaments and all this other crazy crap we don't want to dive into tonight. I don't think they would want that exposed. And I think they would be willing to, drop, because it would make, as we talked earlier, it would make Bass Pro Shop look bad, as well as Boyd Duckett and the Major League Fishing staff as a whole, or just the organization, not necessarily staff. I don't want to go into that because I'm friends with a lot of staff guys there, and they're great. So
I think it really depends on your view of who's in the driver's seat in this argument. Is it Watson or an organization, a corporation?
Yeah.
Do we think a corporation is shaking in their boots because of Watson? I don't know, because I think we don't do a great job of separating Boyd Duckett from the corporation that is, you know, MLF. And I really, if MLF had a problem with this, Watson wouldn't actually be talking. Because guess who it is? It's Johnny effing Morris and White River Marine and all of that stuff. Again, if the sponsors in fishing don't want you to talk about something, guess what? You don't talk about it. Even if it's something that needs to be talked about, the sponsors have too much pull.
Yeah.
They're letting this happen and do this whole dog and pony show. I mean, let's just be real about it. So I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's fascinating to me that this is getting more attention than the new situation, when to me, it's the difference between like the Houston Astros, how they won a World Series versus
stealing calls.
Yeah. When Goodell kicked off a wide receiver for the Cowboys because he said something stupid during a post-game press conference that was against his contract. It's like that whole thing with Watson, that sucks, but that's different than when you do something during a competition.
Yes.
I don't know. That's just worse to me. I don't know. It feels weird.
Yeah. Yes. That's another show, guys. We got lots of other shows, because you're right though. It's 100% right, and I believe that too. I mean, it's
just swept under the rug. Nothing to see here.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, but one question. So Watson's good friends with Duncan. He's either fishing NPFL next year. What's your?
I think he's going NPFL.
He's either fishing NPFL, or does he simply become an on-the-water commentator? Because if you'll remember, I think it was year 2. I don't remember the lake, but he was actually an on-the-water commentator for them for just a little bit.
I think he's going NPFL.
I think commentator. Okay. I think commentator. I really do. I think he is a fantastic showman, and everything he did is staged as hell. I'm sorry. It's just like how you already have the hats ready. Like, it's just, it's fantastic. And again, hey, good for him. I'm glad for him. But so him bouncing to become a commentator, what has he done fishing wise lately? Like, what are his stats? Like, I don't know. If he could get a spot as a commentator, I would think he should take it.
Oh yeah, I agree. You know, we got Fat Cat. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Fat Cat's hilarious as crap. I mean, you know, a couple of videos he did.
I think you bring and then you bring him off into where he is as on the water. He's traveling around interviewing the anglers. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Forward-facing sonar. We'll leave it with this, guys. The weekend's going to be interesting. We're going to see how it pans out. If you want to read some comments, the boys brought it up earlier. You know, John Cruz post, a lot of other posts we're seeing out there. Just brief, you know, what we're seeing in comments wise are just like, boom. I mean, it's mind blowing. And, you know, it's mind blowing. To see, do you want to say passion or do you want to say anger? Which one is it?
What's our cutoff for time?
We got like another 5 minutes left, to be honest, guys.
Come on.
Because we could talk for like 2 more hours.
I know.
Boy, and I try to keep it to a point. So we'll do a part 2, everybody.
Geek, you can go first.
Geek, go first.
I'm going to keep it pretty simple. And I'm going to talk about the numbers you brought up in Texas. If you didn't hear the show last week, go listen to what I say there, because I can literally provide you on the water facts. This happened in a smaller situation on the Tennessee River when side imaging really blew up ledge fishing. Okay. The forward facing sonar is just more applicable in more places. It changed ledge fishing. Used to, being a ledge guy, we could go out, find 200, bass schools, whack a 30-pound bag every single day of the week. They got used to the swim baits, the crankbaits, the football jigs, the shaky heads. Now that doesn't happen. Okay. The numbers are slightly inflated in Texas, and as they will be slightly everywhere. But those bass, just like they don't buy a Cinco when it first come out. I know this because I remember. Just like they don't buy an A-rig, just like they don't buy a chatterbait and grass anymore the way they used to. Let's not make snap judgments. I know there's a lot of you guys out there feel like you can't compete, this, that, the other. This is temporary. I cannot stress to you the temporary. Yes, forward-facing sonar, everybody will have it eventually. Prices fall on electronics. We know that because we've all got cell phones now.
And
my point to it all is these are bass who have not ever had pressure from a boat. These open water bass have never been presented baits and had boat pressure. Every bass on the bank, for as old as the lake or river system, if that lake is 100 years old, and I can tell you because I have scoped shallow, I've seen hundreds of bass in areas where I fish, and they're harder to get to bite. You know why? Because their dads, their moms, their grandpappies, their grandpappy's grandpappy has been conditioned to those jigs and buzz baits and crankbaits and that boat that is there. Let's stop the knee jerk. Let's let it play. Give it time.
All right, you're done. I'm gonna say this, guys. If you saw, well, here, if you're out, you're done. I'm just kidding. If you saw the Bassmaster event from the past weekend of the dude wearing the 1980s vest, he had no forward-facing sonar and led all 3 days, and still had a plain old tackle box. So it can be done. I mean, there's my opinion. Go ahead. I mean, it can still be done. You can still win tournaments, guys. You don't have to have all the crap.
So,
all right, here we go.
This is a fantastically fascinating situation that is multifaceted and complex because you have so many variables colliding at this one moment in time, almost like the solar eclipse. So what you have here is you have a technology that, you know, BassGeek, as you said, that has unveiled all these different fish that have never been touched before. And usually you have some things that go off like the whopper plopper, the A-rig, and generally there's no learning curve to it. The whopper plopper and A-rig, you could have half of a lobotomy and you could figure out how to use those things.
Yes.
And so there was no issues there. This reminds me a lot of any other sport where you have a tool that comes out and it gives elite athletes an advantage. Michael Phelps had that one bathing suit during the Beijing Olympics that gave him like 0.5 seconds faster speed. But guess what? When you put him in the water compared to everyone else, you're like, oh my God, he's lapping everybody. How is that little difference there? When you have a piece of equipment like this, the 1%ers will look that much better. But that's just with the 1%ers. When you put that same thing to the whole vast population, not everyone is going to be able to use that technology the same. The Texas study that's going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks is probably going to be dropped on, if I remember from the meeting, the Bass Conservation Facebook group, that they're going to have it. It was only like a 10 to 20% increase in fish catch, 10 to 20. That's not a whole heck of a difference.
Yeah.
Like you would think with what social media is saying. So you have a technology that has a hard learning curve. You have social media being as hyperbolic as it is. Because when side scan was a thing back in the day, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, they were babies. They were in their infancy.
Yes.
And then you have this other factor here, which is fascinating, which if you guys remember during COVID, when all those stupid like Hollywood celebrities started to sing together, and we were like, oh my God, they're a bunch of idiots. Seeing so many of these pro anglers come out and bitch about this technology is doing them more harm than good because it's really hurting their brand. And it's insane to see their response to this because they are getting their asses kicked with the technology. They're not adapting. And so instead of learning it because they were able to have cushy just show up and fish because they had 30 years of experience, instead of learning it, they're complaining. And that's not good. Do I think there needs to be a cap? I think Bassmaster was so stupid back in the day when side scan happened. Then he'd be, all right, listen, technology is going to be a thing. We need to put in rules like NASCAR.
Right.
They didn't. They let the genie out of the bottle and you can't go back. You just can't. And so I don't know.
It's because all them advertising dollars. I mean, dang, Lowrance, Hummingbird, you know,
and
Garmin.
You know,
I mean,
that was something, you know, that I was thinking about earlier when we were talking about MLF and the promises and the no entry fees. Are you really going to start putting limits on some of the biggest sponsors? I mean, are you as look, I get the anglers should have a voice, but who doesn't want their job to be easier?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I've always said, when they changed the track at Bristol and all the drivers loved it, but they no longer have a waiting list to sell out because all the fans don't. It's not the old Bristol. It's not the fives and in line. The people who compete aren't always the best people to listen to on what's best for the sport. The fans maybe are, but we all know that some are just the squeaky wheels, and most of the time the loudest or the dumbest.
Well, and it's also before baseball really had the analytics about how they pick players. A person that threw 90 to 100 was a big deal because everyone was throwing 80.
Oh yeah.
Then all of a sudden everyone throws 90 and 100, and it doesn't look that big. Right now, what you're seeing, if you just go look at the whole roster for Bass. And this is not 100% correct, so don't kill me in the comment section, but we'll say like 40% really know how to do live scope and the other 60 don't. In 10 years, that'll be 100% know how to use live scope, and then it won't look like such a glaring advantage because everyone's good at it.
Because we saw the field come up from last year. I mean, from through the opens, I mean, all them young kids and stuff like that, and that's just going to keep that farm system's just going to keep producing that.
Look at the Japanese anglers. Have you ever met one that doesn't know how to do that stuff?
Yes. And, I'll be honest with you. I spoke to a Garmin rep the other day, and, we were talking about it, and the bass anglers were so behind. Like, they were so behind the, crappie anglers, the BASS anglers who have been there for a while were so behind. And we were having conversations. He was name dropping huge names. That was like, yeah, man, they just didn't see this coming. They just had no clue. And I was in that boat. But I think, and really what I was trying to say is, look, I mean, even with the inflated numbers, Thomas, what did you say from the Texas?
Like about 10 to 20%.
Yeah, 10 to 20. I mean, and that's an early adoption of the technology. So once we start to see these new untapped fish that's never been pressured before begin to understand what, loud steps, bad, no eat, once they start sensing that pressure and they start breaking up, because I've seen that on 2 different lakes in my area.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because everything else is a technique they get pressured to. And I thought this was so interesting with people I talked to is again, whopper plopper, they get conditioned to it. This is not a technique. It's a technology, which is different. So it's not necessarily a bait that they're getting conditioned to. It's going to be the clicking. It's going to be them feeling that cancer beam hitting them on the side of the head for the 200th time.
And I really don't even think it's the beam as much as it is literally the boat pressure.
Yeah.
Because I can't tell you how much I've seen this on the Tennessee River, on Watts Bar, on Chickamauga, on Kentucky Lake, on, Gunnersville and Pickwick. Those schools don't set up like they used to. They don't. It's changed. And, because they've seen so many baits, they've been pressured so much, they know when that boat comes by, and you'll get the dumb ones to bite and, at certain times. And I think you'll begin to see this because I've got 2 lakes, one lake where I fished offshore for suspended bass for years and years and years. And as I started doing YouTube, those guys who watched me, even though I kept it secret, the locals began to use the same techniques. And the swim bait bite went away, and then the underspin bite went away, and then, the spy bait bite went away, and then so as people had picked that up, I've started noticing how those groups of bass began to spread out. And when they spread out, you get less competition. And I discovered another lake who a couple of friends were like, hey, you're good with your electronics, come up here and fish this lake. And last year we discovered 200 fish schools, 150 fish schools, and they were just dumb as could be. And we were catching bigger bags at 1 o'clock in the middle of a sunny day in the middle of summer than the guys night fishing were catching. And these fish are unpressured, but I also seen the way they started responding as the year went on to the baits that I was throwing.
How much of that is also to the Asian carp?
Well, on, let's say, Kentucky Lake, probably a lot. Okay. Places like Chick, Watts Bar, not it. There's been some sightings, but that is nowhere near. Even Gunnersville. And, I know there's been some invasion into Pickwick, but people will tell you right now that that's less of an issue than it is. Well, a prime example on Chick was Jacob Wheeler's win last year because of the amount of pressure, or year before that with the, little Rapala, basically,
Because I've always been fascinated about that, and I brought this up at the meeting, was how will it be across the board with bass, or to be specific types of bass? So example is, if you are on a blueback lake like Lanier, where they are they're basically stripers, will those fish be as affected by it by ones that just stage up on a current driven place like a TVA lake, where it is more kind of structure oriented versus bait, where you're just not just out there chasing, versus Gunnersville that is all grass? And we don't know yet. We just don't know.
We don't. Now, I will say this. I do actually know, because of some of the lakes that I fish, South Holston Reservoir. Those smallmouth they're pelagic. They're out there all year long around, either alewives and we catch them 80 feet deep. They're very much conditioned to it. They've been conditioned to it since 2D sonar, that boat pressure being out there. The two small lakes in Virginia, I'm not going to name, it's a night and day difference between them, but they're pelagic. We're talking about large. So we're talking about smallmouth in one, and we're talking about largemouth that relate only to shad.
Well, last question I have for you, because I know Brian wants to shut down the show here. Do you think largemouth spots and smallmouth equally get pressured to it, or do you think some species are more inducive to being conditioned to it?
I think it's pretty equal, depending on the amount of people that are doing it, and depending on the lake, right? So all three of these lakes that I've mentioned, two that are, one that's a smallmouth, predominantly 85% smallmouth, the other two that are predominantly probably 85 to 90% largemouth, but the fish react the same way. Subtle differences, and they relate to open water shad more than they relate to cover or structure in the middle of the summer, in the middle of the winter. So, and I've seen pretty much both of those, like the two high pressured lakes, really between smallmouth and largemouth, demonstrate the sort of same setups, where the unpressured lake, they're in massive schools swimming around like sharks. And, I can even provide you with tons of forward-facing sonar footage of this. And it's extremely, and I've talked to other guys, pros who are good with it, Drew Gill, some of the other guys that are local to me, Jack Daniels, and we've all kind of talked about the same thing. I really think it is the boat pressure overall that begins to get to them. And they're only going to bite that stupid minnow so many times. Eventually they're going to be like,
it's like that.
That is not.
That one minnow, guys, right there.
Head.
I know.
No.
They're going to get tired of seeing that thing eventually. And, all the different heads that we've come out with, and the forward-facing sonar heads we didn't come out with, and all the different little, things that a lot of people started making in the business as we've moved closer and further away and closer into forward-facing sonar. Guys, we do need to wrap this show up. We could talk for hours. We really could, but I know you guys aren't going to listen for hours, even though we'd love for you to listen for hours. Before we go, guys, Thomas, man, anything you want to plug, anything you got coming up that you would like to tell our fans out there they need to be tuning in and watching Fishing the DMV?
Oh Lord. Yeah. So basically we cover, and I try to do a fishing report for every major body of water in the Maryland, Virginia kind of area and North Carolina-ish area every season. We have a nice one that is probably will have already dropped by the time this airs, which is I interviewed the main man of Maryland who ran the smallmouth fish hatchery program. They're the third state in the United States that successfully raised smallmouth. So we're going to talk about that success story.
That's cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
There's a chance in a couple of years that they'll be able to produce better weight than the Susquehanna River because of how many smallmouth they pumped into the upper Potomac. So
that is cool.
That's a cool one. And then my last nerdy podcast before we get back into fishing is I'm going to be interviewing live for next Monday Night Live, the heads of Virginia Department of Wildlife Resource. They're doing their Black Bass Summit. They're going to be talking about all of the tidal rivers in Virginia and just kind of the state of the union for where they're at.
All right, guys, you heard it right here. Fishing the DMV, you need to be watching, you need to be following. And guys, if you really do love what he does there, join his Patreon, help our boy out. I mean, he does a great job. Like I said, 5 or 6 shows a week. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, guys. I had this conversation with Geek, 2 years ago, about 3 years ago. We were sitting in a little lull before COVID. And we were all hanging around this thing, and it was a lot of decisions what we wanted to do. And then once COVID hits, I mean, the Basscast just like blew up. I mean, and that's because of you all. But there was a time there that I was like, do I want to keep doing this? I mean, it really was, or because I love doing the podcast. I mean, I love doing it all, but I love talking more than anything else, and you guys hate it. But I'm just saying. But I mean, I really do love doing the podcast show. And I thought about going the way of Thomas, dropping 4 or 5 shows a week and just interviewing anglers that way instead of showing up to the events and doing what we do now and all our great writers we have. But I'm glad we continue that because it has done nothing but grow. And it's all because of you guys. And let's help Thomas grow as well. And Bass Geek. And like I said, subscribe to the Geek channel. So Thomas, appreciate you coming on tonight. Thank you for being a part of Basscast Radio, having me on, doing a bunch of little side shows we've been doing here lately. We love doing this. You guys keep bringing all the drama, and we just going to keep breaking it down right here on Basscast Radio. Guys, we're going to be right back.
Sorry, man.
All right, guys, I hope you really enjoyed tonight's show. Just something a little different. We've kind of been doing a lot of different things this year. I told you guys we just love talking fishing, different industries. We've talked to YouTubers in the past. I mean, last weekend we had Brian on with the Bass Tank talking about electronics. So I mean, there's so much going on now in the world of bass fishing. But
there it is.
Like I said, we got a Major League Fishing event going on right now. We got a Bass Master event going on right now. So we're gonna get back to talking fishing really, really soon here. Hopefully next week, guys. I look forward to seeing everyone this weekend at the Anglers Choice event. Like I said, on Bugs Island. So appreciate and look forward to seeing all of you guys. And thank you for your support. Guys, before we go, man, make sure you follow Geek. Hit the follow button. Hit the notification.
Please.
Yes, hit the notification button. Let's get him to 100,000, guys. We've been growing ourselves. Thank you guys for that. Facebook is I grew 1,000 followers on Facebook last month alone. So we're almost up to 15,000.
That's awesome.
So, that's awesome. It's a great family there. So thank you guys for being a part of that. And check out, like I said, our latest lake report on Lake Anna. And if you would like to drop us one or be a part of our lake report, I mean, we get a lot of people. You want to talk? We get thousands of people look at our lake reports every single month. So if you're on the James River or if you're on Lake Gaston and would like to drop a lake report, or somebody, hey, we're on all social media. It's the fastest way to get to me. Hit us right there, and we'll get it all connected. Have a great weekend, everyone. BassGeek, we'll see you, and we'll see all of you next week right here on Basscast Radio.